So, can we even trust our own eyes anymore? In a world where seeing is, well, not always believing, how do we figure out what's real and what's been cooked up by an AI? It's time to grab our magnifying glasses because today we're all becoming digital detectives.
Go on, take a good look. It's getting tough, right? Almost impossible. And that's the whole point. Trying to tell what's authentic versus what's synthetic with just our eyes is a game we're all about to lose. This is the mystery we have to solve.
All right, let's open the case file. At the heart of this whole thing is a really simple but kind of scary idea. The basic trust we've always had in photos and videos is fading. The lines between what's real and what's fake are getting blurrier by the second. This is our new reality. You just can't assume that what you're looking at or listening to is an untouched recording of an event. Thanks to synthetic media, which is really any content made or even just tweaked by an algorithm, everything is suspect. It could be a tiny color correction, or it could be a full-blown deepfake. But hey, it's not all doom and gloom. We're not going into this fight empty-handed. We just need a new kind of toolkit for this new world. So let's get you equipped with the 3 key tools every digital detective needs to have. First up is provenance. The easiest way to think about this is like the chain of custody for a piece of evidence. It's the digital logbook that answers those all-important questions. Who made this? When did they make it? And what happened to it before it got to me? Next, we've got watermarking. Now, I'm not talking about that big, ugly logo you see slapped across a stock photo. Nope. This is way cooler. It's an invisible signal, literally hidden in the pixels or the audio waves of a file, and it's designed to stick around, even when other info gets lost. It's our secret clue. And our third tool is detection. This is what you call in when all other leads have gone cold. When you don't have a label and you can't find a watermark, forensic tools can actually scan the file itself for tiny statistical giveaways. Weird patterns in the pixels, strange lighting that scream, hey, I was made by a machine. So you've got these great tools, but how do they all talk to each other? Well, they use a shared language. It's an open standard called C2PA. You can think of it as a universal translator for digital evidence. It lets all sorts of different cameras, apps, and websites create and read these verifiable histories, which are called content credentials. Now here's the thing. No single tool is a magic bullet. The real power, the real genius, comes from stacking them together. It's all about building a layered defense system for the truth. And here's how it works. Layer 1 is the declared truth. That's the C2PA label, acting like a tamper-proof seal on a package. But what if that gets ripped off? Well, you fall back to layer 2, the embedded truth. That's our durable, invisible watermark. And if even that's gone, then you have your last resort, the inferred truth, what the forensics can piece together. It's a pretty robust system when you put it all together. Okay, this next part is absolutely critical to understand. These tools are not a truthometer. They prove a file's history, its integrity. You could have a perfectly signed and watermarked photo of a completely staged event. The system proves who made it and how they made it, not whether the photo itself is showing you reality. And this leads us to one of the biggest hurdles we face in the real world. You know when you upload a photo to a social media site and it gets compressed and resized? Well, that process often strips away that declared truth. That C2PM manifest just gets deleted. That's exactly why the watermark, the embedded truth, is so darn important. It's the one thing that can survive the trip and let us reconnect the file to its original history. Of course, for every clever defense, someone out there is working on an attack. This has kicked off a constant technological arms race between the people building these trust tools and the people trying to break them. It's a real cat-and-mouse game. So in one corner, you've got the defense, strong watermarks and signed manifests giving us a clear signal of where something came from. But in the other corner, you've got the attack, people figuring out how to scrub those watermarks. Or even simpler, a bad actor can just use an open-source AI tool that doesn't bother putting any of these trust signals in there to begin with. Let's break it down, pros and cons. The strengths are pretty obvious. You get a verifiable chain of custody, and it definitely makes it harder to create convincing fakes. But the weaknesses are real too. Not every platform is using this stuff yet. It doesn't prove truth. Watermarks can be attacked, and, we have to be careful about privacy. And this is where things get really tricky, psychologically speaking. There's this concept called the liar's dividend.
It's a pretty dangerous tactic. Because everyone now knows that super realistic fakes exist, a bad actor can get caught on a real video doing something wrong and just dismiss it by saying, oh, that's just a deepfake. It's a way to make people doubt everything, even genuine evidence.
So where does all this leave us? We've talked about the tech, but honestly, that might be the easy part. Now we've got to wrestle with some much bigger, much messier questions about what our digital future is going to look like.
And don't think for a second this is some far-off sci-fi concept. This is happening right now. The biggest names in the game are already rolling these tools out. OpenAI is putting C2PA into DALL-E images. TikTok is using it to auto-label AI content. YouTube and Google are already working on their own labels and watermarks. The train has already left the station. Which brings us to our first giant question. How do we balance this? On one hand, we want to stop harmful deception. But on the other, what does that mean for artists or for political satirists? If we mandate labels on everything, do we accidentally hurt free expression? It's a tough line to walk. And then there's the question of power. Who gets to be in charge of this whole trust infrastructure? And maybe even more importantly, how do we protect people who need to be anonymous to be safe, like whistleblowers or activists in repressive countries?
Finally, can we just regulate our way out of this mess? We're seeing new laws like the EU's AI Act that are demanding more transparency. But is that going to be enough? Or are we just stuck in this never-ending technological arms race? Look, at the end of the day, the goal here isn't to build some perfect, foolproof system. That's a fantasy. The real goal is to make it way harder, way more expensive, and way more time-consuming to create deceptive fakes. And most importantly, it's about empowering all of us with the tools and the mindset to be more critical thinkers.
So I'll leave you with this one last thought to chew on. As we build this whole new world where every single piece of content can have a permanent, verifiable history attached to it, we have to ask ourselves the most important question of all. Who gets to write that history?